In a world where extreme competition exists everywhere, what does it take to have success in your career and in life? Join me, Nirvana Chaudhary, as I sit down with some of the most successful individuals to discover the secrets to their success, what continues to drive them, and to hear a few exclusive stories in the process. What drives them and their success code, their mantra for making it bigger. Hello everyone, this is Nirvana Chaudhary back again with my podcast, Making It Bigger. This one's a very, very special podcast to me. Someone who I've known and interacted for a while. Someone who is really, really transformed and has challenged the status quo in the technology sector in Nepal. Someone who I've also read is the Goliath and David and Goliath story, or someone who's gonna be that. I'm extremely happy that I've got Amun here with me, someone who founded and leads Sasto Deal, which has become a synonym name in the e-commerce sector in Nepal. Apart from that, I was surprised to know you're also part of Irish Pub.
I was.
and one of his favorite ventures, which in our own little way we are part of, is Anthropos. That's really, really exciting. Amun is here with me. I'm going to be talking to him and asking him the first very question. Amun, cutting the long story short, what is your success mantra? You're a true entrepreneur. You've come from America back here. You've seized the moment. You've seized the opportunity. You've started small. You've thought big. Step by step, you're fighting with some global brands here, but you're still continuing it. What drives you, man? What is your success mantra?
Nirvana, first off, I think I'm very humbled to be here. Before we started this podcast, like 1 hour, I was interviewing Nirvana, learning so much. I don't know what to say when someone like Nirvana is asking me what is my success mantra. But for me, if I have to, recall why I started, it was back in 2011. So when I came back and I found out, the entire country did not even have one single local e-commerce company. Back then there were Muncha and all of that, but locally there was no e-commerce company, and people in a way, were used to spending 7-8 hours in the market, and that was how things were. And that did not go with me, like Nirvana said, I had to challenge the culture back then. And second, the fire came when my friends and family and everyone in Nepal, because 91% of the people did not have access to internet. So when they challenged me, like, what is this e-commerce internet, why are you wasting your time and all of that, that really kicked that fire within me, that I really have to prove this, guys, what e-commerce is. I'm going to establish not just a company but the entire goddamn industry in Nepal.
That's fantastic, Amun. I think this is exactly what I feel is the basic fundamental trait of an entrepreneur. He sees an opportunity, and there's always this instance when he gets provoked, where a fire in him comes out and saying, we need to be able to achieve it, and you're like, I'm going to go and do it and prove it, and you've done it so well. You have I once in a while keep reading about your new ventures and tie-ups with, again, regionally popular companies like Flipkart, bringing that product here, and I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, wow, this guy is just completely on the right track. Tell me, COVID time's been difficult for us, right? But on hindsight, there's also been a massive change in the mindset and a paradigm shift in how people look at businesses. People shop for the products they need. How people look at marketplace in general. Mm-hmm. How has that impacted your business?
Right. I think, every crisis presents an opportunity, and especially for this industry. There's this IBM report that came out, but that's relevant for US market, but still relevant for any market. That says because of COVID, the entire e-commerce industry per se, it has accelerated the industry by 5 years. So what was supposed to happen in 2025, that is now happening today. So you see that massive transition to e-commerce and digital sector. As for the company is concerned, we were growing. So this data I'd love to share every time someone asks me. Like from 2018 till recently, in the last 3 or 4 years, the company grew by 4,500%.
Sorry, what?
4500, 4,500%. Yeah.
Wow, I don't know. I don't feel too good selling noodles now.
No, I mean, but we're nowhere near to the $1 billion mark, Nirvana. But anyway, I mean, so there's this massive growth, a lot of scalability. The challenge is how do you keep up with the growth, right? Because the team scale is changing, a lot of systems are changing. You cannot catch up with the customer demand, you cannot catch up with the vendors' demand, the supply side, and everything. So everything is happening at once. So, I mean, as a leader, I just try to keep my cool and take one thing at a time and try to see how do you match all of these resources to all of the growth. But it's immense what's happening right now.
So you're a serial entrepreneur. Period. Right? You've started Sasto Deal. You had association with Irish Pub in whatever way. You've got this impact investment fund through Anthropos. You've got plans for Sasto. Travel, Sasto, mobility, etc. Right? I mean, it's non-stop. Where do you see yourself with the resubmission of the IBM study that this entire e-commerce and digital drive has been preponed by 5 years? We've already gone to the curve. Where do you now see yourself as Amun 5 years from now? What will you be doing in 2025?
So I think, I'd like to correct you here. I mean, when I started very young, I was 23 at the time. I wanted to be the serial entrepreneur that is everywhere. Like sometimes he's at the pub, sometimes he's at this e-commerce company, and sometimes at other ventures. But I realized, as maturing in my own entrepreneurial journey and career, I realized, doing too many things all by own, it's disaster, right? So I let go of everything. In fact, I'm no longer associated with Irish Pub and all these other startups. There's my friend or colleague who's handling each of those. So for me, I'm totally focused on Sasto Deal for now, because e-commerce, a lot of people really don't understand e-commerce, right? E-commerce is not just a website. There you can sell anything from a pair of socks to helicopter, right? There's no stopping what you can sell, and there's all kinds of vertical from payment to logistics to advertisement to anything that you can pick up. So e-commerce in a way itself is an ocean of opportunities. So that's where I'm focused. But 5 years from now, this is my mission, Nirvana. When I came back, not to credit just me, people like me and yourself. We brought this new hope in Nepal that Nepal desperately needs, right? And it's not enough. Right now, people are leaving the country. They don't want to, whoever is abroad, they don't want to come back because there aren't enough examples like YY and Gold Stars or Sasto Deal or eSeva, right? So we need hundreds of those kind of examples. And I can see, in the last few years, these people, Nepali people abroad, they've seen these companies doing good. And they kind of have this new hope that, Nepal is improving, these companies are scaling up, they're raising funds, they're doing this. So I can also, now go back and do this. So one thing we're doing for Nepal is we're igniting hope. And when you ask me 5 years from now, what will I be doing? I'll still be igniting hope for the country.
Amazingly put, and it's also good, when you see an opportunity, especially in a market like ours, and you see that tremendous opportunity, and you want to just put all your focus, effort, everything into that goal, which is amazing. Tell me, Amun, what do you see as the biggest bottleneck into your growth in Nepal? For me, I'll be very frank with you. For me, the biggest bottleneck for growth I see is, the right policies not coming in the industries that I'm in. Right. A lot of times I have frustrations in terms of bureaucratic hurdles. If I'm going anywhere else in the world, I'm talking about innovation, I'm talking about growth, I'm talking about expansion.
Right.
Here, a lot of my time goes in, how am I going to sort out that work through the processes? How am I going to get approvals for that?
Right.
What is it? What are the bottlenecks you see in your company as well as you as an individual for growth?
Right. I think one of the biggest misconception that Nepalese have in general is this landlocked, concept that Nepal is a small country and we're landlocked and all of that. I don't think that holds true for the digital era. I don't think there's any border when especially comes to the digital part. So that's not a bottleneck. What you said exactly is true. The policies and everything. To be a unicorn in India or to be a unicorn in Silicon Valley, any company like Sustadil in 10 years would have become a $1 billion company, right? In Nepal, I mean, we're far away from that, mainly because of the ecosystem, like you said. I mean, there's no organic push from the ecosystem itself. For example, not just the policy of the government, I'd say even, I mean, universities, right? I mean, in US, any silicon startup can scale really fast because they can hire people from Stanford, MIT, Harvard, or whatnot. In India, it's IIT, IIM. They have really good students. Not that we don't have good students, we have Kusum and Kiyu and all of it, but it's not enough, right? So the first thing when it comes to talents, that's where the bottleneck is. So we have to go, searching other countries for talents. The second comes infrastructure. So right before the podcast, you mentioned about some of the, things that you planned for, and those infrastructure. I think when you launch those initiatives, I think those are the things that's gonna give us immense push. So apart from the policies, I mean, there are already so many things in the ecosystem that are granted to entrepreneurs outside of Nepal, but here we have to create it. So in my own experiences, and then I say this all the time, I mean, and this is an opportunity that I also take, that I had to, I, along with others in the industry, had to start not just this company, but the entire industry. So you had to create an ecosystem which is granted elsewhere.
I think affordable data, access to data penetration is very, very important. And I think it's no longer luxury. It's a necessity in everyone's day and life. And I think that's going to really give a push as well, right?
Exactly. Even like 3G, like you said, Nivan, I mean, people here, we have to use 3G as if we're, eating a very expensive pizza or something, right? You have to turn it on, you have to turn it off at times. 3G should be granted, it should be available for cheap, and those kind of things, I mean, simple things are not here today.
So, my last question would be, you've grown up in an environment with family members, blessed to have them, who have been a very integral part in giving back in Nepal, through their humanitarian drive, by raising a voice towards something for which would matter to our lives. Growing up in that environment, now going into creating an entity like Sustadil, how important is it for youth to give back in any form to the society?
Right. I think that's the most important part of business. I think in our generation, the definition for business has quite changed. So it's no longer just about creating wealth for yourself, but you create wealth for others as well, right? So for me, I was born and raised in a family where my mother, she spent her last 30 years driving this NGO driving a movement for widows in Nepal. And having seen her, she spent so much of energy and time and doing things for somebody else. But I chose to, go into business, knowingly or unknowingly. But still, I have this DNA where I feel, at the end of the day, if you don't create this, value for others, I'll give you an example, right? You might buy a Mercedes or a Lamborghini in Nepal, but if the roads are not, pitch, like what's the point of driving the Lamborghini in Nepal? And the same thing with creating wealth. If there's wealth in a bank, but you're not being able to spend, there's no good hospitals, good restaurants, good entertainment, or good schools for your children and all, then what's the point, right? So I think the only way we can do that is to give back. Not just in terms of wealth, but also in terms of your time and resources and expertise, I think.
Thank you so much, Amun, for taking out time. I'm absolutely so proud of you. And I see so much of hope in your generation. I would like to say partly my generation as well. That there's future, and that's what you're giving to the youth of our country. So thank you so much for being part of my podcast, making it bigger.
No, Nirvan, again, I'm so humbled. You've been an inspiration to me, and you're inviting me here. I thought I'd be interviewing you, but it's a surprise now. Thank you so much.
Thanks.